Mantras of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, Lord, Thy force is like a rising tide, invading the entire being and breaking upon all things. Lord, Thy force will penetrate all life and create in it the effective strength which never fails, the divine power which is invincible, and above every contrast and contradiction, it will establish in all Thy mastering energy, which is the supreme will. With my love and blessings, says our Divine Mother. Words of our Divine Mother, taken from the collective works of our Divine Mother, Words of our Divine Mother, Volume 14, page 224, topic Difficulties and the Grace and Guidance. Our Divine Mother says we must always keep in mind the big ideal and work that is to be achieved, so that we should not give too much importance to small details, trifles that must not draw our attention. Let them come, let them go like small clouds in the sky which do not affect the fine weather. If you go on thinking of the trouble, it will go on increasing. Instead, if you concentrate upon it, it will swell up. It will think that it is being welcomed. But instead of that, if you do not pay any attention to the trouble, it will lose interest in you and go away. The best remedy is to stop thinking of yourself, your defects, and your difficulties. Let us think only of the big work to be done, the ideal that Sri Aurobindo has given us to realize. The work and not how we do it. Our Divine Mother says, I will help. I will help. Forget your difficulties. Think only of being a more and more perfect instrument for the Divine to do His work, and the Divine will conquer all your difficulties and transform you. Our Divine Mother says, the grace and protection are always with you. When in any inner or outer difficulty or trouble, do not allow it to oppress you. Instead, take refuge with the divine force that protects. Our Divine Mother says, if you do every work with faith and sincerity, you will find something opening in you which will always remain calm and peaceful in spite of all superficial disturbances. Those who are sincere, I can help and turn easily towards the Divine. But where there is insincerity, I can do very little. And as I have told you already, we have only to be patient and wait for things to become better. But surely I do not see why you should get disturbed and in what way your disturbance would help things to be better. You know by experience that there is only one way of getting out of confusion and obscurity. It is to remain very quiet and peaceful, firm in equanimity, and to let the storm pass away. Rise above all petty quarrels and difficulties and wake up once more in the light and the power of my love which never leaves you. Our Divine Mother says, surely you could not believe that sadhana could be done without facing some difficulties. As your aspiration is sincere, whatever was in the subconscious, standing in the way of the divine realization, has come to the surface in order to be transformed. There is nothing there to make you sad or depressed. On the contrary, you ought to rejoice at these occasions to make progress and never forget to lean for support and help on my love, force, and blessings. If you keep your faith unshaken and your heart always open to me, then all the difficulties, however great, will contribute to the great perfection of your being. Always, when one faces difficulties and overcomes them, it begins a new spiritual opening and victory. When you want to make a progress, the difficulty you wish to conquer increases tenfold in importance and intensity in your consciousness. You have only to persevere, that is all. It will pass away, says our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says life is always full of difficulties, hardships, and sufferings. This is a common fact, and each one has to face his own lot of them. The only way to face them properly is to endure and to put one's interest, hope, and faith in the inner life and consciousness turned towards the divine, aspiring for the divine, and capable of receiving the divine's force and help. But often the vital being or some part of it takes a kind of perverse pleasure in giving a dramatic importance to each and every difficulty and thus cuts the contact with the inner being and the divine's force. This bad habit, which is common to many people, must be stopped, and then each one will surely can and feel that he receives very concretely the help he needs to go through the ordeals of life.
यस्य सर्वतत्त्वाशरीरं यः सर्वतत्त्वमयमयति स आत्मायन्तर्यामि ॐरसो वै सः ॐरसो वै सः रसो वै सः रसमहेवायमलवध्वा आनन्दी भवति वृत्ति भवति अमृति भवति
Lord, my sweet Master, this body is thy instrument. This will is thy servant. This intelligence is thy tool, and the whole is only thyself. Seigneur, mon doux maître, ce corps est ton instrument, cette volonté est ta servante, cette intelligence est ton outil, et le tout n'est que toi-même.
Mannatha Sri Jagannatho Madguru Sri Jagadguru Mama Sarvabhutatma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Gurave Namaha
Vidyate hridayagranthishchidyante sarvasanshayah shiyante chasya karamani tasmin drishte paravare brahmaivedamamritam purastha brahmaivedamamritam purastha brahma paschat brahma dakshinataschyotarena adhaschyodadancha prasidham brahmaivedam vishwamidam varishtham dvasuparna sayuja sakhaya samanam vruksham parishasvajate tayoranyah pipalam swadatya nasnanyo abhijakashite samane vrukshe purusho nimagno hanishaya shochati muhyamanah jushtham yada pashyati annameshavasya mahimanamiti vitashokah satyameva jayate namritam satyameva jayate namritam satyena pantha vidato devayanah yena pramanti vishayo yaptakama yatra tam satyasya paramam nidhanam
Our Divine Mother says life upon earth as it is now is full of miseries, and any sensitive heart is full of sorrow because of that. To get into contact with the divine consciousness and to live in its mercy, its strength, and its light is the only true effective way to get out of this difficulty and suffering, and by uniting with the psychic, we can obtain this condition. Our Divine Mother says, the Divine is present among us. When we remember Him always, He gives us the strength to face all circumstances with perfect peace and equanimity. Become aware of the presence, and your difficulties will disappear. Our Divine Mother says, to live within in constant aspiration towards the Divine that renders us capable of regarding life with a smile and remaining in peace whatever the external circumstances. Our Divine Mother says the difficulties are there in the vital and physical nature because they are full of obscurity, falsehood, inertia, and ignorance. They have to get rid of opening the vital, they have to be got rid of by opening the vital and physical wholly to the power of the psychic and the power of the truth from above. It is quite true that falsehood reigns in this world. That is the reason why these difficulties manifest. But you have not to allow yourself to be shaken. You must remain calm and strong and go straight using the power of truth and the divine force supporting you to overcome the difficulties and set straight what has been made crooked by the falsehood. Our Divine Mother says, the power does not descend with the object of raising up the lower forces, but in the way it has to work at present, but uprising comes in as a reaction to the working. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says in the book Letters of Yoga, the difficulties are there in the vital and physical nature because they are full of obscurity, falsehood, inertia, and ignorance. They have to be got rid of by opening the vital and physical wholly to the power of the psychic and the power of truth from above. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is quite true that falsehood reigns in this world. That is the reason why these difficulties manifest. But you have not to allow yourself to be shaken. You must remain calm and strong and go straight using the power of truth and the divine force supporting you to overcome the difficulties and set straight what has been made crooked by the falsehood. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the safest way is to remain in the higher part of the consciousness and put a pressure from it on the lower to change. It can be done in this way, only you must get the knack and habit of it. If you achieve the power to do that, it makes the progress much easier, smoother, and less painful. Our Lord says there are higher forces and the lower forces. The lower forces have to be worked out by the contact with the higher, and in the working out, sometimes they rise, sometimes they disappear, till they are done with that. It is not necessarily due to the mistake of anyone or fault that they may rise, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Divine Mother says life is meant to seek the divine, and our Divine Mother shows us the way to overcome difficulties and says everybody can get out of the difficulties, and it is done in this way. First you concentrate, and now it depends on what you want. If you have an inner problem and want the solution, you concentrate on this problem. If you want to know the condition you are in, which you are not aware of, if you want to get some light on the state you are in, you just come forward with simplicity and ask for the light. Or else, quite simply, if you are curious to know what the invisible knowledge has to tell you, you remain silent and still for a moment, then open any book of the divine. Always, I recommend you to use a paper knife because it is thinner. While you are concentrated, you insert it in the book and with the tip indicates something. Then, if you know how to concentrate, if you really do with an aspiration to have an answer, it always comes. Our Divine Mother says in books like Synthesis of Yoga, the books of Revelation, there is always an accumulation of forces, at least of the higher mental force, and most often of the spiritual forces of the highest knowledge. Every book written by our Lord is a small accumulator of these forces. People do not know this, for they do not want to know how to make use of it. In every picture, in every photograph, there is an accumulation, representation of the force of the person whose picture it is. And if he has the power, then when you are sincere, you have an aspiration, you emanate a certain vibration. The vibration of your aspiration which goes and meets the corresponding force either in the book or in the picture, and then the higher consciousness will descend and give you the answer. Everything is contained potentially. Every element contains what it is in its whole. It is a little difficult to understand or to explain, but when people practice, they would know. Sri Aurobindo represented a totality of comprehension and knowledge and power. Therefore, if you concentrate on any of the books, go to the source, and then you will receive what you need. You must just do it. Then nothing, all that happens to you will become nullified. If you do it seriously, if your aspiration is serious, you try to concentrate on the instrument. It's like a battery. The union of two forces, the forces given out by you and that is accumulated in the book, will guide your hand, and then you receive a response. And the value of the answer depends on the value of the spiritual force that is contained in the book and your knowledge to understand that force. And then you receive your answer, says our Divine Mother. Always circumstances come to reveal the hidden weaknesses that needs to be overcome.